Welcome to the Mad Max recap. Set in a future dystopian Australia run by gangs, Australia has broken down due to oil shortages and ecocide. The infamous Knight Rider and his girlfriend ride off after killing an officer of the Main Force Patrol, one of the last law enforcement agencies remaining. But they come head to head with Max. Fearing the engagement, he swerves off and speeds into his impending doom. With the death of Knight Rider, the gang is now led by Toe Cutter. The gang heads into town, collecting Knight Rider's coffin and wreaking havoc, vandalizing property, stealing and partying. A couple spot these shenanigans and try to flee. They are followed by Toe Cutter's gang. Their car gets destroyed and they are ripped out of the vehicle, getting sexually assaulted. Late to the scene, Max and his partner Goose arrest a member of the gang, Johnny the Boy, but at the trial no witnesses or victims appear, so they are made to release him. In a plea of insanity, whilst distracted at a nightclub, Goose's motorbike is tampered with, sabotaging his brake and leading to an accident. He trenches through and borrows a truck to haul his bike back to the MFP. During the drive, Johnny throws a brake drum through the window, leading to his crash. Trapped under the truck, Toe Cutter forces Johnny to ignite the vehicle with Goose inside, burning him alive. In the aftermath, Max visits Goose. Seeing his charred corpse, he loses faith in the MFP and tells Captain Fifi that he is resigning. Leaving the police life, Max takes his wife Jessie and son Sprog on a trip, stopping to fix the spare tire as Jessie and Sprog head into town to buy an ice cream for Sprog. They are harassed by Toe Cutter's gang and she manages to escape by kneeing him, fleeing the scene and leaving the spare tire behind. They retreat to the countryside with a good friend May. Whilst Max fixes the vehicle's engine, Jessie heads down to the beach for some tanning. She is run off by the gang members. When she returns, Max heads into the woods to try and find them. But at the house, they have captured Sprog. With the help of May's rifle, they retrieve Sprog and speed off. At this crucial moment, the engine breaks down, and Jessie sprints off with Sprog, trying to save his life, leaving May to fend off the gangsters. Yet they leave her behind, speeding up to Jessie and running them over. Sprog is pronounced dead at the scene, and Jessie is left in a vegetable state in critical condition. With the unquenchable thirst to avenge his wife and child, Max sets off to hunt the gang, slowly slaughtering all of the members, running Toe Cutter into his own death, and leaving Johnny the last member in a timed explosion as he rides off. 3 years later, electricity has stopped working, the economy was in ruins, and society was decaying even more day by day. Left to fend on his own, Max drives around the desert wasteland with his dog named Dog. He is able to steal some fuel from wrecked vehicles on the road previously driven by Wes. He passes by a damaged truck, stumbling onto a gyrocopter. He moves to try and steal more fuel, but is ambushed by the pilot. He manages to overpower him, and to spare his life, he leads him to an oil refinery. They witness an attempted attack on the facility and a motorized gang including Wes. Camping out the site the following day, he spots cars trying to flee the compound, but sadly getting murdered by pursuing marauders. He makes it in time to save Nathan, the sole survivor, and he carries him back inside, just for him to die mere minutes later, until the marauders return. As they do so, Lord Humongous stops Wes from doing anything stupid, and offers up the chance for them to live, if they hand over all their fuel. The leaders worry the marauders will slaughter them after they take their fuel, so Max negotiates with them to give him enough fuel for the truck so they can discreetly carry away their fuel. Once finished, he takes his rewarded fuel and drives off. During his ride, Wes catches up to him, smashing apart his vehicle and leading him into a ditch. A marauder kills his dog, and just before finishing off Max, Tony tries to siphon out the gas from the leaking vehicle and causes a massive explosion. Barely surviving with his injuries, the pilot found Max and flew him back to the encampment, and they vowed to save the refinery's resources. Max drives the truck. Pappagallo, the leader, and 3 settlers accompany him in his escape. When marauders pursue him, the rest of the encampment flees in vans, rigging the refinery to explode. They crash into Lord Humongous, killing Wes and himself on the collision. Pappagallo is shot, and the other settlers are murdered too. Max fails to flee and crashes. Once the marauders spot sand leaking out the tank, they evacuate the fight, leaving Max realizing that it was just a diversion. The pilot becomes the next leader of the Northern Tribe, succeeded by the child, with them never seeing Max ever again. 15 years into the future, the economy has collapsed, governments have disintegrated after a nuclear war, civilization struggles to live in a dust-covered barren wasteland. Max is pulled by camels across the desert as Jedediah and his son attacks him, stealing his vehicle. Trailing behind, Max follows them to a trading village. He meets Auntie Entity, who agrees to return his valuables if he completes her task. She explains that the village is run by a refinery called the Underground. They turn pig excrement into methane or energy, but the Underground is run by Master, a dwarf that rides on Blaster, a giant and his bodyguard. She wants him to kill Blaster so she can gain full control of him and the underground. When Master realizes his new vehicle was Max's, he forces him to disarm the booby trap. In turn, he learns that Blaster is sensitive to high-pitched noises, and leaving the underground, he learns that disputes are resolved by a fight to the death in the arena of Thunderdome. He accuses Master of stealing his vehicle, and thus a fight begins between him and Blaster. He uses his whistle to daze Blaster and knock off his helmet, but learning that he is intellectually disabled, Max spares his life, and to survive, he reveals Entity's plot, and thus, Master threatens to shut down the refinery. However, this doesn't stop her plan. She finishes off Blaster and torments Master into keeping the refinery active. Because Max revealed her plan, she ties him to a horse and sets him off into the desert. Once the horse collapses due to exhaustion, Max is freed, but he too falls to exhaustion. He is found by Savannah and trudged back into the oasis with other teenagers that have survived the Boeing 747 crash in the nuclear war. They believe Max to be the pilot, but after explaining their confusion, some of the warriors of the tribe want to fight against the village for more supplies, but as a remnant leader, Max stops them and bounds them to trees. At night, the defectors escape, fleeing to the village to try and overrun it, but Max and a small group follow them. They catch up and manage to assist them in freeing Master and setting the underworld ablaze, causing a massive explosion. They run into Jedediah in their escape and force him to fly them back to the oasis. Whilst Auntie Entity calls upon her legion to chase down Master, Max crashes a vehicle and creates an opening for the entire tribe to fly off, leaving Max the lone survivor stranded, but out of respect for his abilities, Auntie Entity allows Max to live, leaving to rebuild her village. The plane had landed in Sydney. Savannah had foretold stories of her adventures to children, and every night they light up the city for weary travelers and wanderers alike. Decades into the future, Max is captured and taken to Warlord Immortan Joe's citadel. He is imprisoned. One of Joe's lieutenants, Furiosa, is said to exchange produce for petrol and ammunition with two loyal allies. In a change of events, Warlord Joe realizes Furiosa has fled with his 5 wives. He enlists his men to get them back, including the Bullet Farmer, People Eater, and Nox assists him in a vehicle with Max strapped to the front. She drives into a sandstorm, losing the entire army, but Nox catches up with her, and he wants to sacrifice himself to stop the rig. Nevertheless, Furiosa rams into his car, destroying it. Post-storm, Max intercepts Furiosa with Joe's 5 wives, Toast, Capable, the Dag, Cheeto, and Ag Harad. He fails to drive off with the rig and begrudgingly joins them. They pass by a biker gang that fights with them as they flee the scene, with a massive amount of Joe's army chasing them. Their pursuit turns worse when Ag Harad falls off, leading to her death as she is run over by Joe's squad. Capable discovers Nox hiding on the rig and comforts him as he details his flaws and setbacks of life. They successfully delay Joe's squadron with mines. The rig slows down as a result of the loose mud and swampy environment. Nox emerges as a new member of the team, helping them pull the rig out as Furiosa snipes down the Bullet Farmer and Max finishes off his team, retrieving the ammunition and weapons. The following day, Furiosa informs Max about the Green Place, a utopian region she recalls from her youth. Identifying a familiar landmark, she shouts out, encountering the all-female Wolverine that only 7 remain. She figures out that the swamp was the once luscious Greenland before the apocalypse. They start their journey to find a new sanctuary, but Max proposes a more advantageous plan to seize the deserted citadel. There they engage in battle with Joe's forces, resulting in the death of 5 of the 7 Wolverine, and Toast is captured. They successfully rescue Toast, and as they board the vehicle, Furiosa eliminates Joe. Nox sacrifices himself and also kills Joe's elder son. Upon hearing of the tyrannical warlord's demise, the citadel celebrates. The 4 wives and Furiosa take control. Max departs from them and ventures out on his own. This is where the story ends. Make sure to subscribe, and for more, watch this.